it's nice to see you. It has been forever since I have done a live on this platform in my own protest, I guess you could say, because of the shenanigans TikTok loves to do. I don't like censorship. I don't like a social media company having censorship. But I digress. I'm not getting into my censorship complaints. Mary, it's nice to see you. Christina, Bama Girl, Stephanie, Belinda, Enchanted Rose. It looks like Axel Rose, I think I missed. Daisy Bug, Little Mama, it's nice to see you. If you don't know who I am, I'm Bullhorn Betty. I've been on this platform for years covering true crime, and this is the case of Kada Scott. Now, I have been covering this case in detail on my YT channel because that is my main channel, and I realize I have been kind of neglecting you guys over here with my banter with TikTok. Every now and again, I get a wild hair at my butt, and I don't like the way I'm being treated by a social media company. And so, as a form of protest, I take myself off the platform. And I'd really like to do that here as well, but it has changed hands into an American hands as well. Not that the Chinese hands are completely out, but that's kind of my spiel, okay? Getting into this case, we're covering the case of Kada Scott. This is just a terrible, preventable death of a beautiful young woman. From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you, God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims. Kada was 23 years old. She graduated from Penn State. She was wanting to be an entrepreneur. I can never say that name right. And she was going to work an evening shift, like a night shift, an overnight shift at a local assisted living facility. And something happened where she went in on a Saturday night and never left. For the first day when this case broke, I will be honest with you, I personally thought that she's being 23. She had only been employed there for 2 weeks, it being a Saturday night. You know, I was very hopeful that she decided to kind of clock in and sneak out the back door and go hang out with some of her friends. And she was going to be back, you know, to clock back in and to get on with her way, you know, to her home and stuff like that. And so I didn't really have a whole lot of information. They said that she was harassed. I remember that the very first video was like, you know, this could be hoaxy. But if it is true, then it might be somebody at her work, since we had learned that there was an unknown person harassing her. And since she had just started the job 2 weeks prior to. So that's kind of what we were thinking. But we did have an inclination, because nobody was talking about a significant other, a boyfriend, her being 23. You know, people date, you know, in their 20s, casually or more committed. You know, it's 2025. Nobody's going to say anything if you're not a committed person and in a relationship, you know, even friends with benefits. We don't know. But none of those were ever being talked about at the beginning of this case. So I kind of let the case go by the wayside. I think I ran one or two stories on it on my YT channel, and then the case kind of went dormant. I kept checking to see if there was any updates, and it's like 2 days went by, nobody said anything. I just assumed it must have been a hoax. They're wanting to quiet it down, and she's probably already made it home. And then by like the third or fourth day, I get a message on my computer that it appears that homicide detectives are now entering the case. And that's when I stopped. I'm like, whoa. Now, we know, we've been doing this long enough. We know law enforcement. We know law enforcement behavior when they didn't say consulting homicide. Homicide was entering the case. That was it. They're not going to enter a case unless there is some type of evidence of major foul play. And for me to hear that they were entering, not consulting, they were investigating, I knew we were talking about something much serious than we were. That's when we flipped the switch and we got on this case, and we realized at that point she was most likely deceased. She was not coming home. This was not a runaway. This was not a kid that just wanted to go out and hang out with her friends. Something serious was going on here. And then we start hearing Keon King was arrested, and Keon King is a local rug dealer out there in those streets, and they were very, very, very highly concerned with another prior case that had been dropped, and it started going viral on the internet. And we finally got an insight in who this Keon King is, and it was a little scary, to say the least, seeing him, kind of going in through a gate and trying to break in a house where there was lots of people, including children, having total disregard for anybody's safety. It was an insight into this man. And so we finally realized who we were dealing with. This guy was a bad dude. And there is evidence that he had connections with her that night. All things are now out the window. We now believe he unalived her. So law enforcement, now mind you, the community out there is very upset with law enforcement, much like myself, because, in all fairness, it didn't appear they took this seriously. Because let's face it, I didn't really take it seriously, because I look at law enforcement's behavior, and if law enforcement's behavior is not typically taking something seriously, then the chances of them believing it's a hoax or them believing the person's a runaway is high, right? We're not out there. I'm in Florida. I'm not in Philly, right? So I don't know what's going on out there. I can only go by what's being posted. And if nothing's being posted, I'm flying blind. I think there's nothing going on in the case and everything's fine. That's just how it works. Well, we found out that's not the case. And we found out that the sheriffs, the police out there, and the community kind of got into a verbal altercation, because the people out there in the streets are angry that law enforcement didn't take them seriously. This has nothing to do with that, Bill, and have a great day. I block people that come in here and distract or gaslight my audience. I don't really care. If you guys want to hear for gaslighting, please go someplace else. But there were things going on in this case, and we didn't know what was going on until it was too late. Keon was already arrested for kidnapping. We found out law enforcement had been following the car he was in for days. And yes, they did find her, Doubler. They found her near an abandoned elementary school. And I know they were looking at an abandoned middle school, so I'm assuming that these schools are in close proximity to one another, because it seems like it's still all in that general Aubrey, Arboretum area of Philadelphia. But they did find her. They have her down at the coroner's office. Now, they haven't confirmed her. Let me back up. Let me make sure that I'm factual for this. I believe it's her, but they have not conclusively identified her. They believe it's her, but because, they were looking there, they found a fresh, shallow grave. They brought out a female's remains. but they have to go down to the coroners for testing. So if we want to be factual, it hasn't been corroborated by the coroner's office yet until they do a DNA. I'm absolutely confident it is her, but it's not confirmed. That's it. I'm Tara. Thank you. It's not confirmed, but I can't imagine it being anybody else. So we're going on the realm of her being recovered and found, and her being the one that they pulled out of the ground. It makes sense. We know that this guy was bad news. His prior victim was, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, asphyxiated. I think I can say that word here. Keon asphyxiated her, and I believe he R'd her. But at the end of the day, the way the report read is she was assaulted. I because of who he is, and now we learn more about him, I believe she was SA'd type of assault versus just, well, it might have been both. He probably beat her and assaulted her in that way as well. And I have to assume that that's much what he did to this young lady here, Kada Scott. She was gorgeous. And I'm learning a lot about her, about Kada Scott and the community she was raised in. It sounds like there are some shenanigans where she lives. It sounds like he was on the block over, slinging, rugs and in the street. I'm assuming Mary Jane, potentially, because the way the girl was explaining it to it sounds like it's it's green. It doesn't sound like it's really heavy stuff, but it could be, because he was arrested and he had a $200,000 bond, and he was able to come up with $20,000 to bond himself out back in January of this year. So he has money. So is it more than just the green? I have to. But long story short, obviously there is shenanigans in her community. And it sounds like she wasn't involved in the shenanigans. It sounds like she had a really good head on. They said his father is on the force. That's a shame. That's a shame. And you can't tell me that a father doesn't know what their child's doing that's on the force, And that's if that's true. There's a lot of misinformation that's peddled on social media. I don't really peddle, unless I know we'll say it's rumored but not factual. But if it's true, and his father is on the part of law enforcement in the area, you cannot tell me his father didn't know what the heck he was up to. I don't think that somebody can be actively in the streets like that, doing what he's doing without nobody knowing, especially when everybody on that block knew who to go to for their green, very middle-class family, not poverty. No, it actually, a gal walked around that whole community was clean. There was no people out, hanging out in the streets. You could tell that it was a good family community. Not that it counts, just because I say it's a good family community, every family community has its problems, whether you realize it or not. Okay, and I live in Manatee County. It's a fairly safe place in Florida, but there's dealers all over this place. They live in all different types of areas, and even people that think they're in a very good area, they could be living right across from a kingpin, and they don't even know it, right? So this was a good community. It was a clean community. People cared about this community. You could tell that right off the bat, and the way you can tell it is the yards. Is their yards overgrown? Or is it not? That is the first way that's how I look at every community. When I go into a community, it's about the self-pride of the people in that community that make that community what it is, right? And if you walk into a community and nobody has self-pride, you can tell that it's probably a lower income, lots of substances, alcohol, and abuse there. But you go into other areas, they take pride in their homes. You can tell people that are very prideful of their community. And when this gal was walking around with her camera, to be honest with you, I thought that the folks around there were very prideful of their community. All manicured grass, lots of nice little, even the apartments, they seemed like they were well taken care of. They weren't run down, in my opinion. Now, I'm not from that area. I don't know what that area's crime rates are, but crime's everywhere, if you haven't noticed. But I look at what's going on during the day. Can somebody walk down the street without being harassed or something like that? And one lady took us all around that community with her cell phone, and it was nice. Like, I didn't see anything wrong with that community. It wasn't, to me. Now, again, I'm from Florida. We have ghettos here. I don't know if they have ghettos everywhere else or not, but we have these places called ghettos here. And what I saw, like we in our ghettos, which are fairly well maintained, but still you can tell they're ghettos, look nothing like that. That area looked so nice. So I could tell that was a at least a middle class neighborhood that cared about their. So no matter if there were shenanigans out there or not, she stayed away from the shenanigans. The community out there seemed like a great community, and that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. Yeah, we do here. Okay. Well, you never know. Yeah, Mount Airy is a nicer part. Well, that's good to know. But I did hear, now you guys are because you guys know this area. I do not. Again, Florida girl. Okay. I heard where she worked, where the ALFs were, that was kind of the wonky area. I never heard that her area, where she lived, which it looked like even in our county, you can see a divide. Like usually it's a main thorough through that marks off certain sections. Like in our county, we go from like residential to kind of agricultural to kind of industrial. We have our county kind of set up so our industrial is not incorporated into our residential and so. So we have industrial areas and, part of our county planning. And it sounds to me like there were problems over in that side. Chestnut Hill, even nicer than that, where she worked. Chestnut Hill's even nicer than where she worked. So these people were from very good areas then. Yeah, her work is close to Chestnut Hill, which is big money, very expensive. So maybe I did get that wrong. Somebody told me that area at night was dangerous. That's not what I'm hearing here. But only one person told me that. So, and like I said, I've been to Pennsylvania one time, and it was to cover the Caitlin Harp case. You guys remember Caitlin Harp just recently this year? Her husband, Vinnie Harp. That's the only time I've been into Pennsylvania. And I will be honest with you. The one thing I can say about Pennsylvania is I don't know where your tax money goes. I really don't know where your tax money goes, because here in Florida, the majority of our taxpayer money goes to our roads. And when I was in Pennsylvania, I was entirely shocked at how many roads you guys are required to take care of. And I'm like, well, what are they paying taxes for? Like, the majority of our taxes here go to our roads. Like, building our streets and roads. Even in our residential, we don't own our roads. Our roads are county owned. They own them, they maintain them. It's a beautiful thing. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little, Pennsylvania roads. That's what I'm saying though. But here in Florida, which we have the best roads, and we don't have the type of taxes Pennsylvania does. And I was absolutely shocked at how much they actually make you guys pay. They don't care no, they don't. You guys should be demanding that stuff. If you guys got a bunch of people together and started going to your body in Pennsylvania and forcing them to start taking over the maintenance of your roads. Because what are they doing with your damn taxpayer money? Like I said, that's what costs us here in Florida the most. And if you don't have to pay that in Pennsylvania, why are you guys paying hand over fist more than we are here in Florida? Snow plows tear them up. Yeah, but there's other places that have snow plows, guys. You guys are getting the shaft in Pennsylvania over your roads. Listen, you don't have to believe me. I'm just telling you. I travel all over the country, and there's only a few places that the residents actually have to pay for their roads, and Pennsylvania happens to be one of them. I would be pissed if I moved into a house and found out I was required to maintain my own road. What? Have you lost your damn mind? I'm sorry, not sorry. I don't pay for my roads here. I don't pay for my sidewalks here, okay? Now, granted, I have no choice who drives down those roads, where private roads you do. But in the grand scheme of things, as opposed, whether I have to pay for that road or my county has to pay for that road, come on through, folks. Come on through. Southwest Ohio is terrible, too. Wow, why do you guys put up with that? We don't pay for nothing here. And they're trying to get rid of our property taxes too. I would like just to write one tax and pay for everything all once a year. Just, here's my little, my portion of whatever I need to pay for the world. Okay. Like, I want to write one check and be done with it. Have everything else taken care of. Now, granted, I got to mow my own yard, right? And they no longer take care of our ditches anymore, which they used to. But at the end of the day, we don't have to pay for our roads. Our roads are taken care of. Where was Abigail? She was found at an abandoned elementary school where they were looking. If you guys remember, maybe you don't, but when the homicide investigators got involved, they ended up going to their school, their cadet school, and pulling all their cadets to do a line, a grid and ground search. And I could have sworn they said they were over at a middle school when this was starting. Well, they ended up getting a call from somebody with very, very, very specific instructions. And they got that the next day and sent somebody out there around 10 a.m. And after removing some debris, they found a very fresh, shallow makeshift burial. And so I think they only had to move a little bit of dirt, and she was there. So they ended up calling it in, and it was a female. Now, they didn't disclose. Now, you guys got to remember something here, and this is going to be hard because we're looking at the prosecution of Keon King, and we ultimately are going to find out that he was the last one with her, which is why they took the car. They probably have some decomp in the car. This is just hypothetical, okay? I don't know this to be true. This is not a fact of any kind. This is just an opinion. I want to make sure that's clear. I don't want people, passing around that I said this or that or that. Again, it has been confirmed it is her. Okay, Mama saying that they must have taken some type of test and confirmed it was her. But yesterday, the law enforcement would not confirm it was her until the coroner did the DNA test and identified her. So they wouldn't identify her, but I can't imagine it being anybody else. But getting on with that, we need to get back to this. We need to understand that she disappeared on the 4th. It is my opinion she most likely died on the 4th. Whatever happened very quickly. And I think by the time she was even reported missing, she was already deceased. That's just my opinion. I don't know that to be true. She could have, based on the other victim, he kept her, I think, for a day or two. I don't know all the information on that case either. But either way, just my opinion, I believe she was deceased before they even realized she was gone. So you're talking about a heavily decomped person. And why is this important? Because, well, the good news is in Pennsylvania, it's a little cooler in there, and that will help with the decomp. But when you have a heavily decomposed individual, it makes finding the actual cause and manner of death more difficult. And so that is going to be where we're at with this. I'm hoping that they have enough with her, that she was able to stay intact enough to make the determination of what happened. Now, if something happened with her throat or the asphyxiation, there should be things, if they can see the eyeballs or the lids and see the petechia. But the petechia doesn't necessarily mean the asphyxiation. It just means that the air was cut off. It doesn't mean that it was actually from force of another person's hand. And I believe that that's what we're going to find. And if that's the case, I think it's the hyoid bone, if I'm pronouncing that right, will be broken. And even in decomp should be readily available, even in heavily decomp, and they can determine the cause of death that way. Was this predetermined? Was this spur of the moment? I don't know. What I do know is that she was out with another man before she started her shift. And it sounds to me like this is possibly what could have triggered Keon to do what he did, which implies to me that there's a possibility that there was some type of relationship between Kada and Keon. Now, whether it was, they were just, kicking it, trying to chat, maybe working on possibly having a relationship. She's not with the shenanigans, at least that we can see on paper right now. And so maybe she found out he was a dealer and didn't want any part and decided to kind of ghost him and go out with another guy. And that very well may be what set him off, because he's this big known drug dealer, right? And he's just probably like, you're not going to diss me. You're not going to be disrespectful to me, because it sounds like people do a lot of stupid stuff when they think they're disrespected, which is stupid, but you know, you can't fix stupidity in this country, apparently. But either way, it's maybe a disrespect thing. Maybe he felt disrespected and went in there. I still haven't determined whether she walked out of her facility or he went in. Because let's face it, the other victim, she's got video of the man trying to get into her. Yeah, that's what I was hearing. That's what I was hearing, Hearts. He sold, around the way. That's why I'm like, you know, that's how he was able to get a hold of that money to bond himself out on the first case back in January. Him and Kada lived around the corner from each other. Yeah, a young gal walked that whole community. That's how I was able to determine that she lived in a decent area. You know, this wasn't like a rundown area. You could tell the people had pride in their homes, in their yards. It was a place that I would live. It's sad because, again, there were shenanigans going on in that community, and she stayed out of the shenanigans. It sounds like she was just a very smart young lady that had, she knew where she wanted to go and what she wanted to do. Keon Boy was a stalker and obsessed, a case of wanting what he couldn't have. Possibly, but they were on the phone together. That was confirmed, I think, by, it wasn't the last, like they had the last one with the Philly chief, then the one before that was the DA, and then the one before that was the older guy that was really cocky and arrogant. I didn't like him. I really didn't. I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. One thing I can't stand, and I'll be rude, you know, I'm back the blue type of chick. I love law enforcement. I think we need to enforce our laws and everything like that. But I don't like arrogant law enforcement officers. I think that they obstruct their own cases. I think they get in their own way. And I just don't like their bedside manner. And Caitlin's saying they all failed her. It sounds like it. Listen, I'm not from the community. I can't, I don't know what was happened. I know that it's hard, and I tell people on my show all the time that it's very, very difficult when you have an adult missing child. Okay? It is the most, okay. Well, thank you for helping us out. And I believe that, law enforcement, I've seen crappy law enforcement, and to be honest with you, it's the community and the people you vote for. My recommendation is, if you see something wrong and you see people not caring, you should have a caring, you guys pay a lot of taxes in that area, okay? I will tell you. You pay a lot of taxes. Every time you fill up your car, every time you go to McDonald's, every time you go buy anything from a store, you're paying taxes in that community. If you feel that these people don't care, the power is literally in your hands. Every 2 to 4 years, the power is in your hands. And I can't express that enough to the folks around this country. We've got to start fighting for law and order. It is killing us. Like, this guy should have been in jail. He shouldn't have been out to hurt Kada. And this is just one of many cases. Like, I went over my show yesterday on YT, and I think we had like 3 different cases. Now, granted, it's not from Philly. In all fairness, they were from North Carolina, of all places. Who the hell thinks North Carolina is running footloose and fancy free and has living next door to you? Well, I gotta tell you, I'm not interested in going and visiting North Carolina at any time soon, because I don't want to. Feel like I'm living next to something out of, what's that, Bates Motel. They're turning North Carolina into the Bates Motel, folks. I'm just letting you know. And it might be a little bit of hyperbole, but to be honest with you, it's the truth. It's the truth. We don't need Friday the 13th movies anymore, guys. On Friday the 13th, we just need to go and have, what is it, go to North Carolina and have the adventure of the purge, okay? Because that's Crazy Christy's ready to smack me, but it's true. I went over 4 stories. or no, 3 stories where these people had over 10 arrests apiece. One was a guy that had a device of mass destruction. And then got out of jail. He was arrested and then put back out on the street. And then he assaults somebody, almost unalives them, and is caught and arrested with the assault charge that almost unalived this person, and picked up an additional charge of having a firearm. This person that has a freaking long ass rap sheet. Then another chick from North Carolina, 15 arrests, leaves 2 people for dead with the, a sharp bladed instrument. I don't know what I can get away with on TikTok. Right? Leaves 2 people for, unalived. Goes in and walks right out. She's home before dinner. And then you got the Irina guy on the train just a month or 2 ago doing that. Like, what is going on with North Carolina? You folks, I'd be scared. I don't want to be part of an interactive movie dinner, murder movie, whatever thingy. There is a lot that would unnerve me. I have to be honest with you. It unnerve me. I can't live like that. I got my bulletproof. Jess, are you serious? See, when I got to go there, I'm gone. Like, I'm gone. If I had to walk around here, like, I actually do need to go get fitted because I go other places. And I'm not going to go other places without being fitted, especially after September 10th. I'm not stupid. But it's sad that you have to do that in your own community, not being like a content creator or out there in the public. I've heard that's so good. Have you seen The Perfect Neighbor? Don't give me any scary. I'm not watching anything scary. Yeah, that's why I stay in the country. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not really in the country, but I'm from Florida. Like, we have crime here. Don't get me wrong. We got stupid crap that goes on here. We have our ghettos with our thugs that, again, you disrespect them. They want to put a cap in your butt. Whatever. I don't got time for that nonsense. But, I mean, other than this stuff like that, which I never have to worry about because I'm never over on that side of town to disrespect anybody. But good gracious, I do go to Walmart and I do have a big old mouth. I don't know. If somebody was being rude, I would pop off. I might not make it to the car. I don't know. No, I need to stop. But we don't have those types of problems. If people do violent crime here, you go to jail. Like, you touch our children, you might get a DP. Like, you might not get out of jail. You might get the electric chair. I'm just saying. You might have a date with old Smokey. I'm just saying. Like, we don't play here in Florida. I don't know what you guys do in your other states, but I would suggest if you guys are sick and tired of looking over your shoulder or wondering when your ticking time clock is up, I would start voting this nonsense out and start telling people that we need to have these monsters. I mean, I'm gravy with, people that are stealing candy bars. Not, I don't want to see them going and doing hard time. They need, life skills, not a freaking jail cell. But the violent criminals, what? Yeah, I'm sorry. We have rabid animals. We put them in cages. You go to a zoo. The violent tear apart animals are behind cages. Why? Because they will kill you. So why do we put these animals behind these cages, like bears and tigers and all these, even the Shamu? Why don't they let you just go and jump in the pool with Shamu? Because Shamu will hurt you. So why are they putting these animals back on the roads with us? That needs to be our question. We need to keep the violent stuff off, whatever. I'm not going to tell people how to live their life in their community because I don't want people telling me how to live my life in my community. But the one thing I think we should unite on is getting these violent people off the streets, because let's face it, if you want to go out and have fun, you should be able to do it without having to worry about whether you're going to meet the fate of somebody like Kada, right? We need these violent people. Let's face it, this girl right here should not be here, okay? This should not be her. Why? Because Keon should have been in jail. He should have been in jail from a January altercation where he kidnapped, assaulted, and almost unalived, asphyxiated this other girl. And that was one of 2 charges she put against him. The county dropped both of them. Now, granted, that guy came up and said, he took ownership of it, and I was very thankful because, let's face it, many of these people, they don't take ownership of it. So if we can just get them to acknowledge it, that's great. He acknowledged that their office made some major mistakes, which they did. We're human. We acknowledge that they are, that humans make a mistake, but at the end of the day, their mistakes cost a young lady her life. And that's the way we need to look at this. And we don't need any more young lives being destroyed because our government keeps throwing these monsters on the street with us. Kada should be here. Her family should not be going through this. She had a bright, and I mean a bright future. This is unfair, and I guarantee she was the love of her family. I'm guaranteeing that her friends probably idolized her life. She was probably the spirit that everybody wanted to be. And that thug snuffed it out and snuffed her out. And he should have been in jail. He shouldn't even have had an opportunity to do this. And that's what truly makes me sick to my stomach. So anyways, guys, please read about Kada. If you have any information about Kada or Keon King, if you have anything that helps the case, obviously call law enforcement. But after you call law enforcement, or if it's just some stuff that you've learned or heard, please please consider sending it over to bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. I really do appreciate all you guys coming out and hanging out with me for this show. Impromptu, I know, it's kind of how I do things on TikTok. But I will try to do some more. And now that we've got some type of American blood on this platform now, it makes me feel a little more comfortable. Is there any new news on Sebastian? Half Pint. It's nice to see you, Love Bug. No, the answer is no. We've got no new information. Well, I shouldn't say that. We do have some new information. When Chris and Katie were subpoenaed, allegedly, to come to court with me on April 10th, they all tried to say that subpoena, that warrant that was issued to them was the subpoena to come to court. We did find out that wasn't true. That truly was a warrant for electronics from their house as well as cameras. So it is alleged that on April 2nd, 2025, law enforcement executed a warrant and collected all their electronic devices, including 3 cameras that were installed in the house after Sebastian had disappeared, including one that was in their daughter's room. So there is that. Sorry, I just joined. Was Kada? Yes, little mama. Kada was found. This is her right here. She was found. It hasn't, somebody says that it's been confirmed, but it's Sunday, and she was just found yesterday. So I don't know if the coroner's office has made a positive identification. I know that as of yesterday, law enforcement obviously believes it is her, but could not state with specificity that it was her because only the coroner can do that. So until the coroner rules, then, I'm going to say it because, it's social media. I'm Bullhorn Betty. I break stories all the time, but they can't officially say it until the coroner does the DNA and makes official contact with the family. But I think, I believe, law enforcement believes, I think the community believes that this is her because who else could it be? She was found right in the area that they've been looking for days. They had somebody had a very, very specific instruction to get them there, and they don't know who made that call in. So it could have been a family of Keon. It could have been law enforcement that doesn't want to get involved. One of our alphabet soups of our federal government could very well, because, believe it or not, you don't understand all the capabilities our federal government has. And They don't want to be in courts on homicide charges being questioned and on a stand telling the whole world their secret sauce, right? So what they end up doing, and I found this out with the Brian Kohberger case, is that our federal partners actually call these leads in as tips and anonymous tips, so they're not drug into the court hearing. So they don't have to be interrogated on their practices or go through what they actually do or the programs that they use, because one of the benefits of having them is us not knowing what their capabilities are, right? If we realize that the FBI can type our name in and literally get it would freak us all out. Let's be honest. If we knew what they could see about us, it'd probably freak us out. So they don't want us to, Gamer Girl said, I survived and no kings. Yes, that's so stupid. You know what? I'm a professional protester. I'm sorry, not to be offensive. I don't really care if I'm offensive. I'm a professional protester. And every time I have a protest, I have, a goal in mind. Like, I know that I'm going out here to accomplish A, B, and or C, right? There's a reason for it. Like, there were no demands. There were no nothing. It's like, what is this? Nobody could tell you what it was about. Like, what? This is the United States. We don't have kings. The only king in the United States is God himself. And we have presidents, so I think it might be our public education system again, but I don't know. I don't know where people think we have kings here. We don't have kings. But you know where I do find kings? I find kings in this United States Capitol all the time. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they sure look like they want to be kings and queens of the United States. But I don't think anybody told them we don't have kings and queens over here. You're going to have to go to England for that. But so I'm not going to get into the political stuff, but I'm highly political. But all I'm going to say is I love protesting. I think it is a right for everybody. But if you're going to protest, have a goal. I don't understand what their goal was. I don't understand what they were trying to accomplish, because Prince Harry is here too. Oh my goodness. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. That's it. It just seemed like, what I'm starting to think? I'm starting to think that they're doing this for other parts of the world, because this is orchestration. I'm telling you, I've never had to ship in people, and I've never had to pay people to come to my events. So what I'm seeing out there, like especially in Chicago and some other surrounding areas, was the age and the color of the people. I'm sorry. I was looking at the age and the color of the people. They were mostly elderly white people in predominantly young black communities. It didn't make sense to me. I'm just saying. It seems a little wonky. Just saying. Just seems a little wonky. I appreciate you, Riley, but I'm not bringing anybody up. But I am ending the show anyways. So I hope you guys have a great day. God bless you, to each your own. I hope you guys go out there and make a great day. If you find something you're passionate about, raise your voice about it. But hopefully you guys get your roads taken care of from the state of Tennessee or state of Pennsylvania. I'm rooting for you guys. I think you need to reclaim giving your roads back to your government there and making them maintain your own roads. I'm telling you, you guys are spending way too much money in Pennsylvania to have no road tax. Like nobody's paying to fix your roads. Like, you're responsible for them. I would lose my stuff. We would have dirt roads here if Bullhorn Betty is responsible. Did I tell you I'm a cheap bitch? I don't like paying for my stuff. I like paying taxes. Let the county take care of it. Do that. It'll make you guys much happier. Pennsylvania needs to pay their fair share. Fix your roads. All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Until next time, please be safe. But more importantly, kind to one another. And please say a prayer for Kada's family and friends. And more importantly, her mama, right? This is right before the holidays. This is pretty messed up. This is pretty messed up to a girl that had her whole life ahead of her. So let's not forget what today's really about. Let's not forget what we do here on these social media platforms. I really wish law enforcement would have allowed us to help them a little more, but thankfully for Kada's family and friends, they did what they needed to do and they brought their baby home. So God bless all of you. Anyways, rock it out. We'll see you soon.